and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but is not limited to, two of my friends that are watching their team lose a baseball game. And they're also decked out in these fucking Pittsburgh ugly ass shit. What's
This is a
poppin',
beautiful shirt. That hoodie is fire. Look at
This
it.
hoodie is fire.
I do like that logo.
Oh yeah, Jesse's
Right?
here.
I know. I know no one's gonna miss these conversations that I tend to always have. On what is going on with your shot? Why is it so dark?
It's a little dark, huh?
Who's dark?
It's super dark. There. Well,
This
you.
thing's a
but
little.
they're-
This light's
them.
a little.
Are you being racist?
Oh, it's I got it. It's
Oh,
their
I
light.
got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Berk, was that a racist joke?
It wasn't meant to be, but you did convert it to one, and as a good yes and
Okay.
partner, I just went with it.
All right, cool.
Berkey
So-
gets
so
the
That was a
assist
good
here.
joke. It was a good joke.
Yeah. 700 episodes in, I'm still scrutinizing the lighting. Melissa is having a field day with it. I
Nothing
assure
changes.
You.
How do we look now, Burke? Much better?
You look better.
I thought Jesse would bring enough light to this room that we wouldn't actually need to.
It's important that our hero shot, comes off correct.
I
This
only show
podcast
up
is
so
so
that you
good for
guys
your
can
ego, Jesse.
compliment
This is the
me.
hero shot.
You mean
That's
it's
funny.
probably Jesse's fault it wasn't on because he's just sitting there talking to Guap for the fucking 10 minutes before the episode.
You leave Guapo alone.
They're
He's been desperately wanting a friend with similar interests for many years now, and he finally found one who happens to be a bit of a yapper.
I like
Jesse's a
UFC.
yapper?
I like Limping Kings. What can I say?
Let's go.
Big fan.
Let's go.
Guapo, I'm on Team Guapo
Thanks, buddy.
hardcore.
You would have been
yeah.
proud of me. I actually did something with Ace King today that I think you would be proud
This
of.
was a good hand. And I knew it was good because Conrad disagreed with it.
Oh, wow.
He said with Ace King.
Can we just do
Oh,
a
no, on-
turbo
on
in the
Ace
muck
King.
On
right
Ace
now?
King
Yeah,
board is
yeah.
what I would
It's
say,
it's the opposite of in the muck. It is out of the muck. If you
Turbo
will.
out of the muck.
It's very much a turbo out of the muck. Go ahead. You can pull it up if you got
My
it.
problem is
Okay.
more if
It'll-
he's
it'll
doing
take a
this every
second, but yeah, I'll
time, it
pull it up.
sucks.
Is what?
If he does this every time, it sucks.
Um.
And I feel like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go
Well,
on.
you can't do anything every time.
Yeah, sure.
you know.
I get this.
That's just the nature of the game. But
This is called exploitative play, okay?
whatever word that was,
Exploitative.
precisely what's happening here.
Mister, I
don't
never
know.
mispronounce a word.
How dare you, sir?
By the way, Brian, is that line arbable at that price that you saw?
Oh, yeah. So we were talking about the difference in price in a UFC fight from I guess maybe William Hill and Polymarket, and I think it was plus 120 on William Hill, and Polymarket had it at 42 cents, which equates to plus 140. So,
But you have to get the other side at a
The
similar
problem with
price.
trying to arb these markets is you just can't get enough down. I don't think
you
without
can't,
moving it.
that's true, right?
Is
it's very-
Polymarket that illiquid?
You're talking about Chandler?
I mean, it's like if you bet a few
Yeah.
$1,000s, you're going to move the price a few cents.
So
probably.
Chandler's plus
Like,
125.
Just think of it in the context of the presidential election was difficult to arb. It was possible, but it was difficult to do for a substantial amount of volume.
And that's
Really?
probably their biggest
Yeah, if
market.
that's difficult to arb, then it's like going to be impossible in just about any other event.
Do you think it's because that was the poly market was young then? Like, do you think there's more money on it being tossed around at this point?
No, well, it's not about one market, right? Like the arb spot was between like Polymarket and Kalshi, but Kalshi was like 1/50th of the liquidity of Polymarket, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could get a stable line at Poly, but you were just dealing with a ton of fluctuation on Kalshi.
And I'm not exactly sure what the fees are. I'm sure there has to be some
Right.
sort of fee, so you have to take that into account as well.
Yeah. It was possible. It just wasn't for a lot of volume, I
Yeah.
don't think.
Yeah.
Speaking
Anyway,
of
let's-
politics,
Let's
shout out to Donald Trump for.
okay.
Pumping our bags today.
Hey, we
After he
talk
destroyed
a
them,
lot of trash.
he
We
lit
gotta
them
give him
all
his
up.
credit,
Yeah,
man.
it's like he's like, yeah, you know what? He dumped the market 25%, and then now it's up 3 today. So hey, go.
No,
Trump.
but he gave us the signal. He
Right.
tweeted
He sent out the bat signal. He said,
inside
"Bye."
traded with the entire public.
If everybody would just listen to Trump, we'd all be better off.
What exactly did he do?
He sent out a tweet this morning that said it's a great time to buy.
What a
And then
sick
like
dude.
2 hours later, he just announces this news that
90-day
90 day
on the tariffs.
yeah,
Except
it's
China.
going to be 10% maximum on every country except for China for the next 90
Yeah, but
days
don't
minimum.
we just walk on eggshells for the next 90 days as well?
Well,
We don't. They do. I mean, you saying as an investor?
I'm just saying, like the market in general.
Yeah. Yes.
What-
I mean, yeah. You try to rug this motherfucker.
So what's going on with China?
I think we're up to like 130%.
A giant trade war.
Yeah. He wants
Huge
to he's battling China, man. I think he wants the rest of the world not to trade with China at this level.
Right. And I mean,
And-
they
Isn't that impossible?
Probably, but
kind of
we'll
is.
see.
Yeah.
Doesn't China
Make everything.
yeah?
And if they do trade with him, he wants the tariffs to be much lower than what they are. So we'll see.
Sounds like a fucked up situation.
But what's happening is they keep raising theirs, and then we keep raising ours, and they keep raising theirs, and till
I'll
we
tell
all
you-
both have 2,000%.
I don't know
tariffs
shit
each
about
way.
any of this,
Me
and it would have
neither.
been a good time to discuss with Barbara, obviously. But what I can say as an outsider looking in is, in my experience with risk and strategy games and things like this, it looks like a classic case where one person's playing checkers and the other's playing chess.
It looks like chicken
Which
to
is
me.
which?
That may be up for debate, but if I were a betting man and I had to
We're
bet,
playing checkers.
I had to bet on Trump versus another world leader,
Yeah.
I might throw a few shekels
Yeah.
at the other side.
I saw a tweet. It was like, he's like, I don't know how to predict this market because I just don't know how smart Trump is.
Right.
If he's really smart, then he's playing, like you said, 3D chess, 4D chess. Everything's gonna work out. If he's an idiot, then we're all fucked.
There's smart, there's drunk with power, and then there's something in between.
Yeah.
And we'll never really get the full breadth of it. I don't
I
think.
just kind of don't understand this because 80% of the things in this room say "made in China" on it.
Yeah.
So it seems kind of weird. This doesn't seem great.
It's going to be not great for a while.
Okay.
It certainly. I was reading a cool thread from a guy who does a lot of arbitrage work. I mean, that's the field that he's in on Amazon and different sites. And he was saying that basically buying infinite stuff on Temu yesterday was a really good idea because you can just resell it in a couple weeks and make a big profit.
Ooh,
That would make a lot of sense.
that
Yeah.
does sound nice.
There are people who see the world in a very specific way, and they do not miss opportunities. Like they're the when there's blood in the street buy real estate people,
Right.
Yeah.
and they're just like, hey, that's the old adage. But when you're able to apply that to different markets and just be able to see
it
that sort of
seems-
thing,
It really seems like it always works, right? It's just like Warren Buffett said, right? Similar to what you said.
Oh, it will
Be fear-
always work.
Be
It's about
fearful when
finding.
people are greedy and be greedy when people are fearful.
Yeah, it'll always work. It's just about finding the pocket through which you can predict.
Yeah.
Right? Like predicting that Temu stuff will inflate is just like a really sharp observation.
Right. But I mean, it generally to like asset markets, it works
Right.
pretty
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Right.
I will say the counter to the Temu stuff is that it's mostly trash and people are only buying it because it's cheap. So it may
Oh,
not
it's so bad.
it may not work out quite all that well if it's priced up in the future.
Bro, I got an advertisement for an excavator, like a bobcat sort of thing.
Yeah.
These things go for like the American made versions go for
If you
what,
pull up to
50,
the podcast in
60,000.
an excavator, I'm going to be.
I'm
I
like-
get first
They see
dibs
me
on
They're
it.
selling them for like
rolling.
$8,000 on Temu. Like these
Sure.
things, it must be battery operated and made out of Legos.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty absurd.
Speaking of blood in the streets,
Jesus Christ.
Berkey just fucking threw his hand up. He thought there was a fucking game-winning
If
run.
that was me that did that, he would have been so pissed.
I wasn't on camera. I was not on camera.
He
good
was
for the
thrown
goose.
out at the plate.
I was watching this trash debacle of a play happen, and I didn't say anything.
None of you had to acknowledge it. It was on Guapo. We were moving on to the hand.
Oh my
let me in Zoom
God.
while you're at it.
He just gets thrown out at the plate. That's so good.
Give me 1 second. All right, Jesse,
Yeah,
I need
that
you to take a look at
happens.
this.
All right, let's see
If
it.
this is Jesse approved. 6 max. Open the button. We had a call from the big blind.
All right.
9-8 off for the audio listeners at home.
What size do you like here, Jess?
So these Ace King X boards, Rainbow specifically, I think we actually from the button, or from most positions, I think we play like really big bets and checks a lot.
Yeah.
So I would just start with some really big bets here. You do some wild stuff. I remember studying these boards when I was playing more cash, and like you might find some triples with hands like pocket eights on some of these boards, which is very unintuitive, and you just go massive and or at least doubles because it has some nice equity.
I think you're thinking about it. You're thinking the hierarchy wrong. You're gonna choose your worst pairs.
Well, no, I understand that, but I'm saying like, or it might be doubles, but like I was seeing like eights even mix in, which was pretty wild to me. But it makes some sense. Like all of these pairs are.
It'll be like 2s, 3s, 4s, and then on each progressive street, you'll basically like lean that out.
Yeah. But the fact that I saw eights even in there just like blew my mind. Basically, like if you think about like let's say the turn's a deuce, right? Eights actually makes some sense because you've already become. When you bet really big on the flop, you've already become polar enough that eights are never really winning, or they're winning very little, and they're probably, if you check back, like you're going to lose to like queen jack bluffing or whatever on the river that had a backdoor flush draw. So then what ends up happening is like eights become one of your better like 2-outed hands because you just make the actual nuts. They never have
I think the
kings or
concept
aces.
you're talking about is correct. I think you're referring to a different formation though. One where you're maybe devoid of more smaller pairs, because I don't think eights bets here. Like ever.
You might be right. I might be thinking more like EP, and that's why.
Correct.
Yeah,
where
that-
like
that
you
may
don't
be
have
true.
2s, 3s, and 4s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then because the way it works is basically you take the cluster of your worst pairs, whatever they may be, 2s, 3s, 4s. If it's 5s, 6s, and 7s, whatever. It obviously depends on the the hanging card, the 6.
I wouldn't
so
be shocked though
agreeable.
if you see some fractional eights, like just at a small frequency in there,
Yeah.
for what it's worth. But yeah, I mean,
So I agreed with you, Jesse. I went big. I went over bet.
okay.
We get a call. We pick
Oh,
up,
this is a very nice turn.
yeah, we pick up a gutty. So we decide to overbet again,
Okay.
but we get called.
This is like a really, really nice combo because you're blocking 8-9 and ace-9 and ace-8 suiteds.
I don't think that matters much.
You think they always
They
3-bet?
become indifferent on the turn.
Well, I mean, that's still like one of their better bluff catchers.
Yeah, I think it's a nice combo because it unblocks king 9, king 8 of spades, which can never fold, and 6-9, 6-8 of spades, which can never fold. But it works in the inverse as well. I think it's maybe not a good combo because we unblock 8-7 of spades, 8-9 of spades, which just rips, and now we have to fold. So I think it has like a plus minus kind of thing to it. But when you start with an overbet with this type of candidate, that's a really good turn.
Yeah, well, and then also like it's going to obviously be a great candidate on the river because you have 9 high, you don't have any
You're not
you
going
don't
to have
any
worse.
spades in your hand or
Right.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, you're not really
We
gonna have
went
worse.
for it, Senor Jesse.
I like it.
Okay, that's all that matters.
Like it. I'm trying to think of what your most nutted bluff catcher is. It's probably bluff is. It's probably like Jack 10 or something like that,
Oh, I
where you're
didn't know you got
blocking their
called.
best one pair.
Yeah, he flopped 2 pair.
Do you think some pairs ever bluff? Like if you have what's a good example? Like if you have like 4-7 suited or 5-7 probably just checks turn. Well, it might bet. I'm just thinking like
I don't think
at some
5-7
stack
will bet
depth you
much.
start bluffing with pairs because you block 2 pairs. What's that?
I don't think the 5 is going to be super relevant. I think your 6x might.
Well, they have ace 5 is why I'm thinking about that, and king 5 occasionally, but mostly ace 5.
Yeah. Only the offsuit variety, but yeah, that's relevant, but I think like blocking the 6 is more relevant. So like basically the way these spots work, I was talking about this before we got on air, is that the large flop size creates a high level of indifference that I think people aren't really expecting. So like your king X and 6X play very similarly.
Mm-hmm.
Largely because your best king X's will have like plus minus effects to their kickers. So in essence, the kicker isn't really that critical as far as like beating other stuff because you're not really ever betting a king for this size.
So
like
Are
having
you talking
king
about this
queen
flop specifically?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like having king queen to bluff catch as opposed to having king 5 to bluff catch isn't particularly interesting because imposition's only ever betting king queen as far as like a king X type of hand goes.
Yeah, but you're kind of just adding to my point that when you get to later streets, like blocking a 5 might become relevant for river bluffs because they have some king 5s here. They have all the ace 5s.
So Jesse's correct. All the 5s go.
Sure.
Like for like 80%.
Yeah, sure. But it's important to understand it's important to back up to the original node so that you understand how the range is shaped to arrive at that point. I wasn't necessarily disagreeing with you. I was just saying like a 6 to me would make a lot more logical sense because they don't play check raise either. So like when you start polar like this, you don't face re-aggression. They're just going to bluff catch. So like hands like a6, king 6, they're just going to station you down. So having those front-loaded blockers, basically, their best bluff catchers from early streets is really important. And you're right, like they'll improve on the 5 a lot because they'll have 6-5, they'll have king 5, they'll have ace 5, obviously.
So you're just saying the 6 blocks a little higher frequency because they're indifferent with king 5 on the flop, whereas king 6 is obviously always continuing.
Yeah, so what I was trying to get at, the original point I was trying to make is that obviously all the ace X calls, but all the king X does not. And that's really critical to understand. And I don't think people gather that. I think the way a lot of people intuitively play this is they'll call all king X and they'll fold all 6X. Or even worse, they'll split their king X in such a way where they call the good king X and they fold the bad king X. And it actually, if you had to choose, like if you were forced into that strategy, you would pick the opposite.
Yeah, you want to not block the queen 10s of the world. Jack 10s,
yeah. So you want to open up in position to be bluffing off their gutties. Now, of course, like there's some positive effects to having like king jack. You're blocking ace jack, which would go for the large size here for value. But I don't think that it offsets enough whenever you're talking about clean outs. Like oftentimes a 6 will play more confidently than the king will, unless you have backdoor flush draw, obviously. Just due to the fact that like when it improves to 2-pair plus, it's more often than not going to be good if it wasn't already dead, right? So like as long as you're not up against ace king, then you're going to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, all the like the king X lows that do not have a backdoor flush
They just fold.
even like king 10 off, king 9 off, king 8 off.
Yeah, they all fold.
They all fold flop.
Yeah,
from the big blind's perspective.
yeah. But
yeah, that's why this
don't
big
play
bet's
that
so
way.
powerful.
Yeah.
Right.
And the reason you get to have the big bet in the first place, like I think people look at this board and they say like, oh, I have ace king. It's more important that they don't have ace king, and that just removes so many combos of their nutted hands that they would normally, like on ace 8 deuce or whatever, like they just have all of the offsuited 2 pairs, and that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Maybe ace 8 deuce is a bad example, but like ace 8 3 or something like that.
Guapo, let me
You're
share.
already in, puppy.
No, I can't share.
Oh.
So what happened? Did we get the fold or what?
No,
Hell
he called
No,
it
he had flopped 2 pair and he just called down.
Which 2 pair?
ace 6.
A6.
That's a tough hand to get to fold.
So I'm just looking through the sim now, and yeah, a lot of this is like, as both Jesse and I kind of spoke to, what surprises me is the turn. I thought that he had like the best candidate to do this with, and the actual combo of 9-8 is very good, of course, but it's the opposite of what I thought. Well, it was kind of like what I mentioned, I guess. But you want the spade. You want one spade
Why is that?
to follow through on river spades.
Yeah. Yeah, you see this a lot with stuff.
I thought it'd be the opposite.
It's a bad bluff on the river once spades miss when you have a spade in your hand, but it's a good bet on the turn.
Yeah, but I would think it would be the opposite.
I'm not even sure that that's
like,
true, because the reason why you thought it was the opposite is because that's the standard principle. But remember, we bet large, not small. So it's only pairs that are continuing on the flop and front door gutties. So no matter what, whenever you're targeting the spade range on the turn, you're targeting a combo draw range.
But like pairs with like king X of spades. So they would have to hold on a bricked river.
Yeah, for sure. But that's a very small portion of range, right? Like if like you having the 8 of spades there doesn't suddenly position him into having a higher concentration of like 2 pair plus. right? So it's like it's very different than the natural way that this spot usually occurs, where you start small and they float really widely, and then the backdoor spades come through. Now you don't want to have spades because they have such a wide array of spades in their hand to choose from that you have a big range. You know what I mean? Like it's maybe like a quarter of their entire range overall. Yeah. But in this instance, the actual backdoor spades are going to be minimized. So your point of like, okay, well, I want him to have king 8 of spades. It's like, sure, but you also want him to have king 8 of hearts. So it doesn't really matter, right? Like it's sense. A neutral impact whenever you're talking from that regard, unless you have exactly 9-8 of diamonds, which is the non-suit. And I think if we look at this 9-8 of diamonds, 9-8 diamonds fires at like a really high frequency. The only thing that fires higher is 9-8 of spades because it picks up the combo draw. So it's very, when you look at these polarizing strategies, it's very fucking nuanced because of the way that range is shaped. So, to the point that Jesse was trying to make your 5x goes, he's right. And it's because you don't have very much of it. So on top of not having a lot of 5x, it also has these positive blocking properties that he was kind of referring to before. So our only bluffs are Jack 5, 8 5, 7 5. We don't really have anything else from the 5x range to pull from. And then of course all of our 6x just like blast off, with the exception of 10-6 does a little bit of checking. And both of those are for the same reasons that we were discussing. Like you just have such high blocking properties over hands that naturally call twice, like ace 6, king 6, ace 5, king 5, 6 5. But yeah, like I suspect that you get the turn fold here quite a high frequency. Like when you see his defense, everything's indifferent. Like ace X now becomes indifferent. So we're talking like ace 9, ace 8, stuff like that, all indifferent. Plays jam sometimes with sets. Some of his ace 6 now responds with reaggressing. So like basically when you face call, that's going to make his line even better now, I think. So like the river was the 4 hearts, obviously that's going to make our combo pretty good to go with, I think. Let's see, 9-8 off. We had like diamond club, right?
Is there no, are the spades bluffing or no?
Yeah, the spades are bluffing.
No, I mean like 9-8 with a spade is bluffing a lot.
Yeah, it's pure.
I can't see suits from this far away, but okay.
Yeah, it's pure.
Wow.
But it's because you don't have a lot of them. 9-8 with the 9 of spades, not so pure because you have so much more of it. Like it's a higher frequency turn bet. But it comes out basically you're doing it at the same frequency. It's just you have this one so much less.
Gotcha.
Same thing with all these other ones that like you very rarely have. You just kind of use them when you have them. Where's Guapo's combo? Yeah, Guapo's is like almost pure. But
so the ones that aren't pure have a spade in them, it seems like.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And then obviously if you just don't have that many bluffs, you're just going to have to bluff a lot, obviously.
Yeah. And then obviously if we change this to the 4 spades, then it should invert, I assume. We'll see that.
Oh, almost definitely.
Yeah, the spade combo will just go. Yeah, so now it's pure. Now it's pure with all the... Well, still 9 of spades, 8 of hearts for whatever reason, just doesn't like betting. I mean, not as much, but... well,
like you said, it's in there more, so...
Yeah, that's fair. Really interesting spot,
really. That is odd. This is like... when you get into like this fractional of combos, like this far down the decision tree, like you also have a very high likelihood that there's just like a calculating error in there.
True.
Because it's so sensitive to that. And like that's the last part of the game tree that gets properly solved out. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at flop, the pair range works even more differently than I thought. I thought 5s would be in there. They're not.
You were way more on than I was. Obviously, like 8s is like more of a EP versus big blind type of thing.
The reason for this, at least the way that I understand it, is because of how wide our range is. We have so many other hands to choose from that foregoing the showdown value of these pairs is just like kind of not necessary.
No, that makes a ton of sense. I was obviously looking at like something that was more early position.
I think if we looked at like low jack versus big blind, then you're a lot more correct.
Yeah, you have like very fractionals 2s through 5s at that point.
Yeah. The other thing is like if we offered a second size of like quarter pot, I imagine a lot of these pairs would just start to get in for value. Like they're that close. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But But like it's way different when we're only playing single size. Because like look, ace-6 now checks back 3/4 of the time.
Yeah.
So it's like
you're playing just this wildly polar. Oh, ace-6 checks back that.
Yeah,
little.
it's just to
interesting.
protect. It's the only trap, right?
That makes sense. You're just blocking so much of their continuing range when they're folding a lot of kings to your bet size that you kind of need to use that one.
Yeah.
It was pocket aces also checking
checks
a bunch?
back like 2/3 of the time.
Those
are your two traps. None of your other ace-x, like ace-10 plus, are really doing any checking. And then like your ace high lows.
It's kind of a nice strat to employ because first of all, just looking at the combos, it's pretty clear that most people will get this wrong. Like what Conrad said before about people just playing their best kickers and that not being a good strategy is like very important. But also, I just don't know if the average non-studied poker player is like highly studied is folding a king that often. Like
they don't. Man, it's so frustrating. I run these lines so goddamn often and get shown king 10 off at the river. It's so fucking
great. That's great.
Well, yeah, it is and it isn't.
It's great when you have it.
Yeah, because that turn isn't always the fucking 5, and you don't always shell off, and then it goes check, and you're like, I have fucking 9 high.
But if your range is like properly constructed, then they're just in trouble.
It's just like the amount of times that I start this bet with queen jack off, and then the turn is, the backdoor spades, and I don't have a spade, so it's no longer a viable candidate. Like you just have to check back, realize your equity, and then the river is.
But you're saying that because you're seeing showdown, you're seeing their hand in those times, but you don't recognize all the times where I do have a spade and I just run
it.
They have some god awful decision on the turn, and they don't really know what to do, and they either overfold or they overcall or whatever, and you're actually printing a bunch of money that you don't know about, like. Because you're just chilling on your good range.
It's just super annoying because it's like, or I'll have like a 6, right? And I'll double it, but it's just a hand that like by the time you arrive at the river on a static run out, like let's say it's ace, king, 6, 5 deuce, something like that, where like spades miss, you don't necessarily shell it for a third time. So it's like I either land there with like this hand that was like meant to bluff and then had to give up, or queen jack high, which is a much better example where it's like you turn the backdoor spades and you don't have any. So now you realize your equity. River's a brick. They check to you. You never bluff this one because you have so many worse hands to bluff through this line. You check it down and they just go king 10 offsuit.
It's quite funny.
It's like, God damn it. Like I know that's a fold on the flop and I shouldn't be upset about it for all the reasons that you're saying. But it's like every time I get the showdown, I'm going to get shown this hand and I'm going to know that I could have won it somewhere else in the line.
It's quite funny because these are the hands that go into the chat. Like this goes into the chat every single fucking time.
Well, it's not even, I mean, they're not pure folding king 10, right? So it's not even like
opposite they are.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pure folding king jack, king 10.
You pure
king
call
9.
like all your backdoor flush draws and then you pure fold. It's
okay. I thought there'd be like some fractional calling.
Yeah, I learned this when I was studying for Heads Up with Airball, and I was like, I personally was getting this one wrong for a long time, but it's like I just chalked it up to me being sticky. It's like, whatever. But I also wasn't facing this line really ever.
You're never really facing the overbet.
No, but you face like the 3/4 spot.
Yeah.
Which technically you should respond to differently, but because players don't, because they're not that studied, right? They're just missing the size. They're not missing the construction.
I have a question. How often do you even face overbets on flop in your game?
Never.
That's what I thought.
Never.
Because like I don't ever see them live in general.
There was
literally never.
I feel like there's very few boards where it's like a grave mistake not to overbet. So it probably is somewhat reasonable just not to have them in there.
Well, I just think that
there was one time where a reg overbet on ace, king, queen, 2-tone.
I got kicked out of the
game.
game.
I had jack 10. I had jack 10, no backdoor. So I flopped the nuts, but no backdoor. And I just called. Turn was an offsuit jack. I checked, and he bet 3x pot. I just folded face up.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not getting free rolled here.
How often do you?
That's tough.
Sorry. It was king queen 9 2-tone, which is even worse because like this is like
because you can lose to the new nuts.
Yeah. So now ace jack became the nuts, and I don't have any blockers to the nut flush draw. I was like, I just folded face up. I was like, I'm not getting fucked in this spot, and I never felt worse about a hand. I've never felt more confident that I was right. Like I'm very sure I was either against ace jack or a jack with a flush draw.
To be fair, you'd been shown if you weren't, if you folded face.
Oh yeah,
up.
the look on his face told me everything I needed to know. He went white as a fucking ghost. I was like, that was the best play I've ever made in my life that didn't involve me putting money in the
And
pot.
you still feel like fucking
I
shit.
feel like shit. I flopped the nuts and I just exited the turn.
Did you run that? Is there any over betting on the turn there?
I don't think there's any overbetting on the flop, so it's like impossible to
see
really
the turn. Well, you could give
discern.
them one bet size and then do it from there. But I'd be interesting.
The
interested
issue
to
is
see.
the issue is like when you give him the overbet, it just reduces his range down to like nuts and nothing. You know.
Yeah.
So it's
that's
really
probably
tricky.
what it is.
Yeah. That's true.
But I think in practice, like, your fold is great, and he probably just has it. And I think in practice his play isn't good because he's probably not balancing it with any bluffs. But I was thinking in theory there might be some room for some wild combo to get in there and also mix in some ace 10.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It was like even worse too because I think I defended out of the small blind. I think it was like cut off small blind and big blind came along. So it was like an overbet 3 ways.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Which is just like, what the fuck? My alarm bells went off immediately. I was like, man, I'm either getting free rolled right here on the flop or I need to see a safe turn. Like that was all that was going through my head.
Yeah, I know a few players that I think are pretty smart at poker and study a lot, and they still just overbet multi-way. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, it's
interesting.
environmental. When people are like conditioned to just like defend regardless because they don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you know, you're out on a limb at that point. Like, you're taking your medicine if you're willing to do that to yourself. It's like, I know that I'm sacrificing any semblance of protection here in order to just maximize the spot. And like the second they adjust, you get fucked pretty hard.
Yeah.
You know, whatever.
Sometimes a guy folds a straight in your face and you're not very happy about it.
You know, nobody
I keep thinking that Brian's looking over at me during this, but he's actually
I'm
just sweating the baseball game.
I didn't just see the Pirates tie it up in the bottom of the 12. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? What are we talking about? I guess this is the beauty of the show. Sometimes we tangent off of things, and I can just like move past a lot of the lighter conversation we had lined up today, and just know we'll get to it tomorrow, Jesse.
There's always tomorrow.
There's always
What was the lighter conversation?
We'll get to it tomorrow, Jesse.
All right.
It's just that simple. There was a winner circle photo yesterday.
Let's go.
Shout out to Cherish Andrews. She won the 25K showdown at Hard Rock. I read in the replies that Brock refused to sit on her lap for the winner's photo.
What a joke, bro.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate. She actually sat on his, which is very nice of her. I would have forced the issue. I'd be like, no, you don't want to sit on my lap? Bend over. Slap his ass. Let's get it going. There was a podcast that Joey did the other day. So I guess this is before we segue into this. The more proper segue was Doug streamed for 15 hours yesterday.
Holy crap!
And
I thought he was supposed to go 30.
30 was max, right?
Max, yeah.
Wait, before we get into this, can I shamelessly shill something?
Of course.
Do you guys know about the me and Ashley sitting on each other's laps?
No.
So Ashley, it was kind of cool because Ashley won.
I want to know how this is going to turn into monetizing.
Well, no, it's an ego shill, I guess.
Oh, okay. You're just telling a story, Jesse.
Yeah,
that's way different.
Ashley won some Venetian. I think it was like the Venetian ladies event during the series, and I sat on her lap in the winner's photo.
Good boyfriend.
And then like a day or two later, I won the the Venetian deep stack, whatever their main.
Yeah,
but maybe it was for the same series. Actually, that's kind of crazy. No, she won a ring. She won a turbo circuit ring event.
Okay.
And like 2 days later, I won the Venetian main, and so she's sitting on my lap, and it was like kind of sweet.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So cute.
The couple that wins tournaments together stays together.
That's right. You know? That's right. Yep.
That was a great week.
If you guys
were
like shit rigs, you'd be broken up by now.
That was a really fun week.
Someone's got to keep you guys in dog food.
Ashley has more trophies than I do. And she doesn't even play poker.
I think Lamanna has more trophies than I do.
Hey,
I
I got 2 for 1 tournament, up there in Canada. So.
Oh, yeah. The Can-Am challenge.
When I was back home, I saw them like tucked away in like the pantry of like.
Oh, they came down from the mantle?
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, what? Like, they expire after 14 years.
Yeah, your time has passed.
Wait, 14 years. Make that 20 years.
Yeah, your parents have given up on your poker career.
Oh man.
Finally.
Yeah.
I'll never forget.
As have I.
Yeah. They're barking on their own.
I feel like you should have a decision in that,
Yeah, right.
Hey, it's their mantle, man.
That's true.
Maybe Chico's out fishing. He's trying to get a lake trout up there.
Yeah, something like that.
What did they put in place of your trophies?
I don't know. Picture Marilyn Monroe or something.
I'm surprised Mary allows that.
Yeah.
Chico's hitting his dirty old man face. So yeah, I guess I didn't get to watch much of it, but I actually thought it was a really good idea, the little bit that I did tune in. So I think it was like every 30 minutes, maybe every hour, he was forced to take on another challenge. So it started pretty lightly, like you have to play 7 deuce. Then there was like you can't check raise for 2 hours, something along those lines. So the way it worked was he had a 4-hour timer, and every time somebody used code Doug or deposited money or subscribed to the Twitch channel or gave a super chat or whatever on YouTube, more time was added. And if he broke any rules, they added time as well. And I did happen to catch one where he 3-bet jammed aces in a situation where he was not allowed to 3-bet at all, and was forced to add an hour. That was when I went to bed.
Was it worth it?
I mean, he won the pot. He got it in versus jacks.
Very
so maybe,
nice.
I guess.
Yeah.
But I think he streamed till like 5 a.m. Pacific time. So maybe 7 a.m. his time. Seems like it was a pretty eventful 15-hour stream. I didn't know. I thought YouTube was a 24-hour cap on how long you were allowed to go live for. But apparently
12.
it's 12.
Yeah, it's 12.
Oh, I thought it was 8 at one point.
No, maybe, but I definitely know it's 12 because like the Hustler streams, I feel like they went late.
That's why I thought it was 24 hours.
They'd have to recap. They
Didn't
never went
Joey,
24 hours.
Didn't he have
Yeah,
some,
the $1 million game?
some like 12-hour streams during
No, those
the
are 12.
Oh, for sure.
Those are like
For
15
sure.
hours,
Yeah.
you're thinking.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
12 hours, they capped it off. It's funny because the inverse of what you saw is what I saw. I pulled it out for 1 second, and he gets dealt 7 deuce off, and he had the fold button clicked. And then he's like, wait, no, fuck! He's like, I saw my life flash before my eyes because he wasn't allowed to fold 7 deuce off.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So there were like some fun challenges. They kind of like interacted with each other. There was a point where like he wasn't allowed to check unless he was check folding post flop. So he had to donk bet or just check fold. And he also had to. He wasn't allowed to.
Oh, you know what? I did see a couple hands.
Yeah, I think he wasn't allowed to 3-bet pre, and he wasn't allowed to check and call post. But he also wasn't allowed to fold 7 deuce or jack 4.
Wait,
so
he wasn't allowed to check raise post.
No, that was early.
Oh, okay.
This is different.
Hold on, so he can't fold 7 deuce pre, he can't 3-bet it, and he has to play it post.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
And he has to donk, and he can't check and call. He has to donk bet. He can't check and call. He can't check and raise. He can only check fold. So he has to donk bet. Oh, and he had to overbet.
Jesus.
So all these things were in line.
He's
so
just
basically,
stacking bad ideas.
Basically, if he got 7 deuce or jack 4 in the big blind, he was going to get stacked.
Yeah.
He had no choice but to get stacked. He had to play it. He had to lead for overbet.
Unless he won the pot. Unless he made a hand.
Right. But, I assume the people playing against him were watching. They know what the...
Right.
I saw a tweet that this had to be part of the challenge.
Yeah, that's
true. It had
true.
to be a punishment.
One of the punishments was chat took over his Twitter for an hour.
Oh my God!
Wow! And he finally acknowledged
dream.
He finally acknowledged what we've all known for many, many years, and that is that he learned everything he knows from me.
I saw that tweet actually. That's great. Wait, how many tweets did chat get to make?
Good question. I wasn't following very closely.
Oh God, is this the one
Maybe
that Sean
half
Perry?
dozen.
Wait, you weren't the one
responded
that you weren't in the chat that put that tweet in there?
No. I got to tell you, the chat not very funny. Very disappointing. They should let Melissa do it.
Yeah.
In 2 opportunities of Melissa taking
Hit
over
him and
my
pooping
Twitter,
his pants and all kinds of things.
Melissa took over my Twitter twice. Both of those times, she put out 1 tweet each. Both of them way bigger bangers than anything the chat came up with yesterday.
Wait, I
happened to
gotta
do with
see
you
these
shitting your
tweets
pants?
now.
I deleted mine.
Berkey was like,
Come on, we got an
Florida?
image of this, right?
No, I was in Playground Montreal, and she was here in this hosting chair, and I just leave my Twitter logged in like an idiot. And she said, if anybody's at Playground Casino, please help me. I shit my pants. I'm table 26. I wear a size small.
I need an extra pair of pants.
Somebody gave me a pair of sweatpants.
Hey, look at that.
That's funny. I never knew that.
They were not size small either.
Oh my god!
Shout
How
out
do we
to
not
that
have
man.
those like hanging in the background?
They're nice sweats. They're the playground.
Because I'm wearing them right now.
Yeah, they're the playground casino sweats. They're like
let's
really
go.
nice. They're nice. Thick
See
knit
that? You
blues.
got some free swag out the deal.
Finally.
You know?
Finally, I get something out of it. Anyway, what we could be sure of, or at least according to this interview that Joey did, is that Doug was not playing against any bots. He had John Andreas, head of security for Club WPT Gold, as well as, I know him as Tango. I'm not sure. I think Joey mentions his real name somewhere in all of this, but
Tango plays cash, huh?
yeah. Tango's an interesting fellow. He used to be a part of a group that owned stars, I think prior to Amaya or maybe after Amaya. I'm not sure. But he had an investment in stars for a while. Then I believe he invested in WPT Global and or maybe just Kings, the overall parent company. But in any event, he is very hands-on from what I understand from this interview. And I think we have a quick clip of him explaining the way that they go about their security. Not this one.
Technologies.
Actually, that one's fine too. I was just going off the Club WPT Gold one. They might be the
Actually,
same.
we have our own solvers. With our own AI and solvers, we actually create bot signatures. We create GTO signatures. We also run different sort of exploits so that we can create exploit signatures. So there's a lot of tech that goes into this.
So you're saying you just got to be so good at both sides of things where you got to know what you're dealing with. And the only way you know what you're dealing with is if you are getting in the streets yourself and just figuring it out, building different strategies, building different ideas. And
We
interesting way to
look
think
at
about it.
GTO signatures, we look at different exploit signatures from real bots or from this sort of AI that we have trained to exploit certain human tendencies. And it's based on these signatures that we then can infer and draw the line between human profiles and bot profiles.
Okay, so wow.
Technologies. Actually,
So yeah,
we
that's
have
similar to. I think that's pretty common practice, or at least if it's not common practice, that's common practice amongst the highest level of securities.
Which is obviously not common practice.
right.
Shouldn't that be sold to other brands
No,
in a way?
no.
No?
It's very expensive to make. I mean, yeah, I guess you could like. It's not third party though. Like this is their own in-house team. Why would they want to help a competitor?
Yeah, that's true.
There's really no upside to it. But I remember during pandemic time, when did the Fedor Cruz stuff happen? The pandemic time?
Wait, what
Feels
was
like
Fedor? I already forget about.
He was
this.
RTAing.
I think
He
it
was
was
RTAing
pandemic
stars, and his roommates basically dimed him out, took pictures of his setup, everything.
Is this the guy who sucked out on Sean Deeb in the main event? Was that guy?
I have no clue.
I forget it.
No recollection of that. Anyway,
kind of looks like a fish,
he's
like literally.
he's a German
Yeah, I think it
younger
is.
kid. Yeah. I think during that time, I was talking to Rob Young about this pretty intensely, I should say. And he was saying that like Party had a very similar concept in their security where they would build AI to create signatures for what, you know, theoretical poker looked like in its most optimal form, as opposed to like what a human is capable of, as opposed to what a bot would look like. And that's what would lead to their version of fair play checks, where they would, you know, reach out to you and say, hey, we have some suspicions, need you to grind for 90 minutes on camera with a full 360 view. And, you know, we want to be able to compare that play to your previous play and shit like that. And I imagine that they catch a lot of people like that. I think Stars does something very similar. I know that they do the we're suspicious, we need to see you play on camera type of stuff. If you want to run that other clip, I'm not sure if it's different or not. It is actually, yeah. Let's hear a little bit more.
I think really, when you ask the question, how do we protect poker players from botting? I think first of all, you need to make the poker operators care. Right? We are a tech company, but we are also lucky that we have partners and friends that share the same passion for the game. So they do care. They invest a lot of money in tech to solve precisely this problem. So I think that's number one. And when it comes to the tech solution, I think data matters, right? So broadly, you can think about fighting bots from shoe point of view. There's the context-based solution, which is if you think about the major type of solutions in gaming, you have what is called kernel-based detection. So what this type of solutions do is basically they watch over the players, right? They look at the operating system, the softwares, the processes they're running, the app distribution. It's very invasive. And then the second type of solutions is what we refer to as gameplay-based detection. This is where you need a large-scale data infrastructure. This is when you have to track behavior, gameplay, everything you can see, and build that sort of signature that distinguish human from bot behavior.
Wow, yeah.
So
you've been working on that.
These are the two types of solutions. We like to think that we have the most advanced, holistic solution that takes contextual signals into account, but also have the data/AI-driven gameplay signatures.
I think that when I hear him talk about this, it sounds really great. Like, that's the immediate takeaway. You should feel very safe. And it seems like the right path to a solution, right? Like building infrastructure in such a way that you have enough data points to compare and contrast and arrive with some level of confidence whether or not it's a human on the other side playing. And that seems like the right direction to take, particularly in fighting against bots as well as RTA. What I guess I still would have concern with, maybe concern is not the right word, but what I have curiosity over is how automated are you able to create, or how much of an automation process are you able to create here such that you don't need to audit every account or audit every single game type? Because that to me seems like the biggest hurdle. And obviously that wasn't really discussed. That's a pretty nuanced question. You'd have to have a fair understanding of like what he's talking about to kind of push back that way. But I think that's the biggest issue. That's why the thieves are ahead of the crooks are ahead of the security right now, right? It's because from my understanding, the difficulty here is that something needs to flag an account before we're actually even able to run them through these infrastructures. But from a playing standpoint, like wanting things to be secure, you just want to fire up the Sunday Million and know that these systems are in place and they're automating throughout the entire event, you know, for anything that might be a red flag. So I guess like that would be the part that I would still have a lot of curiosity around, is how much are they able to actually apply this system in real time?
Yeah, it's tough too because there's a balance between them giving us all the information so we can feel completely safe and giving out too much information where people can work against it because they learn more about it,
right?
How they're doing it. So it's like, it's a little tricky in that sense.
That part's very true. Like if they were automating it currently, they can't really divulge that, I guess. Maybe they could, maybe they couldn't. I don't really know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but it makes sense they wouldn't go into detail if they don't feel like confident about doing so.
Yeah, I think the way around that, maybe, I don't know if ethically is the right word because it might actually be a little bit gray, but like at least from a consumer confidence standpoint, is to publish how much policing is being done, right? Like if we were able to get reports of, I think like maybe if we were able to get like reports as far as like site by site, how often processes are being done and how often people are being caught, that would help a lot from a consumer confidence standpoint. Now, granted, they would be incentivized as a company to kind of fudge the numbers, I would imagine. But like, I don't need to know the inner workings of how your bot detection works, but it would be nice to know that, like, or nice to see like a public report that like, oh, we're running bot detection every 90 seconds, every, Tuesday. Like that's a big difference. You know what I mean?
I have some guesses on how some of those entries would look
right
in a report of that type.
Quite blank. But yeah, I mean, again, there's never going to be a perfect solution. And I think that though it is very valid that security companies need to protect against arming the thieves with enough information that they can, kind of usurp their power, so to speak. It also becomes a bit of a cop-out in them not giving us really much of any information. Like, it's very clear that Global and WPT Gold are more transparent about this stuff than pretty much any other site. I don't hear anybody talking about their security protocols outside of we have them. Yeah. Trust me. That's why we hired ambassadors, to tell you that we have security, Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, the fact they're even talking about it is like a big step forward compared to a lot of other sites.
Yeah.
I also, I know John a little bit personally, and I've talked to him about what he was working on, but before they were even ClubWPT Gold, like back when they were an app. And what he said felt like it was probably light years ahead of what other poker sites are doing. And also they were consulting the right people. I know that they hired one poker player as a independently contracted employee or whatever for a little bit to consult, and it was like one of the smartest human beings that exists in the poker world. And they're just doing like a good job of talking to the right people, and I would trust them to implement like a good anti-botting, anti-collusion strategy more than like almost anybody else.
Yeah, I think so too. And honestly, maybe they can just kind of rest on the laurels of, well, if our names aren't getting dragged for bot rings and things like that, then you should just assume that we don't have any. Right? Because that's the way pretty much the rest of the community works, is like we assume that there's very little botting taking place on Stars or GG, but it's always taking place on like ACR and Ignition. So it's like maybe it is one of those situations where it's like until there's a problem, we don't really have to acknowledge much of anything. I think that's pretty reasonable. John Andreas was very helpful. He came and did a panel with us discussing RTA, like anti-RTA measures. This is when I think Wizard Fair Play first came out, and there were all those like false positives. Then they revamped the Fair Play check a ton. We were able to start like kind of honing in on turn spots, river spots, actually having like reasonable confidence of people who were cheating. And he was like very forthright with, like the things that they're trying to develop and the way that they approach security. Consumer confidence should be high in sites like that,
Yeah.
Especially in today's landscape.
It's interesting. I always think about cheating as at different stakes and field sizes. You're more worried about different issues. So like at lower stakes, I'd be more worried about bots because it's easier for bots to
like a volume thing.
Yeah, well, it's easier for them to like slide by
because nobody's
when there's more and more players to choose from. When you get to the high stakes, it's like if you're playing these like these 10K buy-in tournaments on GG, like the fields are very small. So if a new account pops up and they're playing great, you're kind of like, who is this guy?
Right,
you know?
That makes sense.
But at the lower stakes, you could have 80 accounts pop up from Kazakhstan and nobody says anything.
Bunch of like racks that don't have a keen eye.
Yeah. Like at the highest stakes, you'd be more worried about who's using RTA and who's colluding, even to a small extent. Like even like subconsciously colluding in the form of like they swap a big number and they're at FTs and they're making like kind of too tight of folds against each other, stuff like that. So you have to kind of like police for that. And then like live, there's obviously a lot of those things you don't have to worry about, like RTA. But you have to be concerned about other things. Like I guess collusion might be one of the things you have to be concerned about.
Pinhole cameras.
Maybe somebody bringing chips into the tournament that didn't belong there.
There's definitely a myriad of ways of cheating live and online.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I think it's helpful to compartmentalize when you think about the stuff like what type of cheating you're concerned about for different forms of poker and different stakes.
Yeah. I think that, the big thing with live, why it feels so safe is because it's very difficult to scale. And in order to scale, you need more and more people involved. So like when rings form, information travels very quickly. And not only do the rings tend to get thwarted, but their methods usually come to the surface pretty quickly. Because it's one thing for a single individual to do something out of the norm and kind of blend in. Like if one single person was using like a vape with a camera in it to catch the pitch, then it would have taken us quite a period of time to figure it out, and that probably did happen. It probably occurred for like, you know, years without going going undetected. But once it circulates and more people try to apply this method, and we start to see more and more trinkets like on the rail or on the felt where they don't ever belong, eventually somebody catches on or catches wind of the information being disseminated amongst the crooks. And the second that happens, it's just like, you know, we know what to look for, and policing becomes very easy.
I'm lost. Are you doing a baseball reference or a porn reference?
Neither.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What are you talking
Using
about?
a vape to catch a pitch?
Catch the dealer's pitch. People are hiding.
This is so good.
People are hiding cameras in like.
I thought you were trying to throw a baseball back in there, man.
No.
Yeah, you know, you use the vape to catch the pitch.
No, like,
I don't know anything about this, so I thought they were just juicing. I thought that was the biggest issue.
Oh, they're putting cameras in like AirPod cases, vapes,
Any kind of little
phones.
electronics
Yeah, like anything that they could justifiably put on the rail without getting asked to have it removed.
Okay.
But like, you know, stuff like that gets out pretty quickly once the information's out. That's the thing with the difference between live and online is once the method is available or public live, it's very easy to police because everything is happening in real time. There's no anonymity, and God damn that word.
Yeah, just don't mess with
nothing's anonymous. You know, there's no hiding.
Anonymity.
And like you said, like there's a lot of people, so you guys can, like in a private game especially, you guys can be discussing with each other, like what's up with this.
Right. Well,
going
one
on.
thing is out of the norm, like, you know, an AirPod case sitting on the felt when no one else ever has AirPod cases on the felt. It's like suddenly that triggers something because we know what to look for. But online, it's like knowing the method is useless if you can't police the method. You know what I mean? It's like knowing that somebody has a second computer running with a lookup database is meaningless to me. I can't do anything from my home. I have to trust that the site is acting in good faith and you know, doing something to police people like this. And when you start to work that problem backwards, you understand it's very fucking hard to police.
No, you have to trust the site to some extent to do a lot of data work to look into like who's playing too accurately to certain sims, or are multiple accounts playing extremely similarly in different nodes.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
That's I think the biggest thing that maybe people don't understand, that the difference between online poker and live. I think a lot of people just think like poker's poker, but the biggest difference is that online poker is anonymous by all accounts when you're talking about all of the human elements. You don't get to see people. You don't get to physically touch anything. There's no mannerisms. There's no odd behaviors or anything along those lines, right? It's just digits on a screen. But as a byproduct, you have a massive paper trail. There's a wild amount of data being disseminated amongst the pool at all times, and it's collectible. Live is the exact opposite. Live is all observational with absolutely none of the actual hardcore data, right? So it makes the problem sets very, very, very different.
Unless you cheat on a live stream.
Well, yeah.
And then we got both options. Got observability and we have data.
Got to be the dumbest person in the world.
Right?
Only the dumbest person in the world would cheat a live stream.
Has that ever happened?
So we're taking call-ins.
Yeah, we're not doing that again.
Shout out to the dumbest person in the world.
Allegedly cheat on our live stream.
Allegedly the dumbest person in the world. Allegedly, right? Well, to be fair, there's more.
Let's go.
There's more than one idiot.
Yeah, there's no name out there.
Yeah, there's far more than one idiot. There's multiple idiots for sure. All right, let's get into a little bit of a feel good departure. We got a little bit of a shout out. John Party did what appears to be some sort of I don't know, poker ad at Playground Casino, and we made it into the trivia portion.
Oh,
That's not funny.
Well, we'll see.
Sorry,
No.
I thought you were referring to the poker org.
Well, that'll be next.
It's not funny.
This is a
at all.
segue. What's not for you to decide,
I
Conrad?
already decided.
I will be the judge.
You're not included.
It's fucked up.
Please, God, fold.
John Party.
Mike Patrick, what are you doing here?
I just thought I'd come up and check on things.
You're a media guy,
Yeah, but I'll always be a poker player.
but you're a media guy.
Yeah, so?
Do you know the Only Friends podcast?
The GPI award-winning show on YouTube?
What are the names of Berkey's 2 puppet friends?
Landon and Conrad?
Frank the
Tank?
Norman,
Chad?
the poker capital of Canada.
Playground?
Lucky.
You?
You're in the small blind with queens and you raise over a nits limp. He backjams. What do?
Fold the queens, obviously.
What are the 2 seasons of the poker year?
Summer and bankroll recovery?
Wow. You really are a poker player.
Yeah. But let me ask you, John, will there always be poker?
There will always be poker.
All right. Elbows on the rail.
Elbows on the rail. Fold. Please, God, fold.
What was that? That was a commercial for Playground?
I don't know what it was.
You just made it?
Yeah. I thought it was
Alright.
great. You referenced the Only Friends
GPI
pod.
award-winning.
That's right. You were left out, though. You were not one of the puppets.
Fucked up.
This motherfucker.
That's because Turtle is his own man, Tortoise.
Thank you. We need you here more often, Jesse. See,
I got your back. But
yeah.
do you
I don't know
prefer
if Landon
Turtle
would
or
have
Tortoise?
ever came to my rescue like that.
Well, he was busy playing Magic on his phone.
That's true.
And also, to be fair, he was called a puppet in the video. So I don't think being excluded in this instance, I don't know.
Is that a bad thing?
Is it better or is it worse? You're forgotten about, but you're not a puppet.
Maybe I'm not. Maybe they purposely left me out.
You could have left my ass out. What the fuck is wrong with you?
So are you happier
Obviously,
that they
you're the
called you
co-host.
award-winning, or are you madder that they called you a puppet, Conrad?
He's mad.
I'm
Big
mad.
mad.
You seem,
Yeah.
I don't know. You got a big smile on you.
No, that's just to hide my my anger.
They should put Conrad. They should get an extra bedroom for the next season of that Poker House show that ACR does.
Wow, just wake up and fight John every morning.
Yeah,
now.
you could just glare at him over cereal in the morning.
Imagine if like every day for 45 days,
every day,
they just woke up at like 8 a.m. and fist fought.
This is what would happen. I was just thinking about it and be like, oh, outside.
They do those like post interviews and they're just talking strat on how they're gonna fight him the next day. I've noticed he's a little weak when you hit him with a right. So
like day 43, they're both just like hands on knees, blood running down their nose. They look like Randy Marsh. I am no bell. I thought this was America.
That will always go down as my favorite episode of
It's
South
so
Park.
good,
It's
man.
such a great episode. At the very end when he's like, "Dad, you're the greatest," and he jumps in the air and it freezes his frame, and it plays that Karate Kid song. It's like, "You're the best."
Yeah.
Oh my
man,
god,
so good.
Those guys are unbelievable.
So I guess it's no surprise that we got mentioned in something that was put out by PokerWork, as they've been giving us quite the swan song now that we've announced that the show is likely coming to an end. Lee Jones, one of our loyal listeners and watchers, who's been around for maybe the majority of this, if not every single episode. I don't want to dethrone Efro.
Yeah, him and Efro are.
We know for a
battling.
fact he was here.
True.
Party said, I actually asked him who the 2 sexiest Only Friend members were, but they changed it in post.
Efro said there is nobody in the poker community less of a puppet than Conrad. He doesn't even listen to what Berkey is saying on the pod, let alone is he controlled.
That's actually pretty true. That's pretty true of, I think, everybody on the cast. Listening is a tough one. Gaslighting's an easy one.
Easy.
It's so much fun to do, especially to you.
Right. And you guys just so quickly congealed together.
Park, we never gaslight you. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, never. Of course not. So Lee wrote this very kind article about, I guess, the history of the show, and had very complimentary things to say. So I just kind of wanted to acknowledge that. Give him a big shout out.
Absolutely.
If you guys are more interested in the legend of Lee Jones, he was on our show twice, I think.
At least had Lee on twice, yeah.
Definitely once,
twice,
I think
yeah.
twice, though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have those episodes handy, but you can find them in the back catalog.
Just watch every one, and you'll eventually come across
Right.
it.
If you start at number 1, 600 episodes later or so, you'll find Lee Jones. At least once. The first time he was on was during the runner competition. So that was probably in like the mid to late 200s, I would think, when Conrad really had the runner nailed down.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nailed.
Look at that shot, Berkey. This is back when we had the window open.
That is quite a photo right there.
Beautiful.
Did we have the window open there?
Yeah, that's when we used to have the window open.
Nice hoodie.
I was pro window open, but
Yeah, I
when
wasn't.
you see that shot,
I think this shot looks much
yeah,
better.
you're not
Berkey,
wrong.
you
You're
look
not
like
wrong.
somebody said something that you do not agree with, but you don't want to
It was probably Melissa.
point it out.
Yeah, it was probably Melissa. If I had to guess,
Oh man.
it was probably somebody saying something about the windows being open.
Probably.
Like, it's natural light. What more do you want? Oh man.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah, big
Absolutely.
thank you.
It was very kind.
I have nothing else to say.
It's all over.
Wow, the show really is done.
It's all
Yeah.
over.
Berkey's ran out of
70
steam.
minutes.
The Pirates won.
Berkey has
They
nothing
walked
to
it
say.
off.
Oh no.
I told the audience I would let them know.
I really-
they're waiting with bated
I'll
breath.
tell you this. I appreciated that you watched them walk it off and your attention immediately, without breaking stride, diverted from your phone straight on to Jesse as they were both in the same line of
I'm a
sight.
pro, bro.
Yeah.
700 episodes. I better be able to do something.
He went from paying absolutely no attention to what you were saying to feigning the slightest notion that he might be listening.
I heard every word
Oh yeah.
that Greg Brown said.
Yeah, raise the Jolly Roger, baby.
Raise it, baby.
That's gonna do it for us today. Very short one. Never expect a short one when Jesse's in the studio.
Yeah.
A little disappointed in
He
you
had
today.
he got all his conversation out with Guapo pre-show about fucking UFC.
That's true.
I got more to say about the UFC.
Save it for tomorrow.
Guys, I'll be here every Thursday talking about UFC until
Let's
the show's
go.
over.
Let's go.
Oh man. All right, that's gonna do it for us today. We will be back live in living color tomorrow. We'll see you guys all then.
Later,
Peace.
squad.
Peace.